Well, new winter. Tired? As it was very much needed. This was an essence. This was in essence gifted to me. All of this. Which I'm incredibly grateful for. Because right now I do not have the financial affordability I would not have had the ability to, with the amount in my bank accounts right now, I would not have had the option to purchase all this. So I want to elaborate on a point I made in the first video of this little series. Just to be a bit more to give a bit more credence. The internet the point of the internet not having many beneficial functions to it in regards to how it can be utilized. Let me make it clear, those functions, they are there of actual ability for human connection and communication. They are there. I stand by that there's not many, but the amount that is within the internet sphere is necessary. It can be found in on various platforms. But another thing to stress is that this doesn't just relate to the internet. I specifically have really been thinking about this for artistic creation, a lot of mainly various historical artistic movements. In regards to how those usages of online online realms came about. They only were brought into creation because they only exist because of the problematic elements, the major problematic, destructive functions across the web. They only exist because of that. Because compassionate, analytic people have been able to observe common patterns of attempted socialization online and come up with methods of how to try and actually take elements in whatever category of the internet is, to take the dynamic of that online space and turn it from a parasocial relationship to a trans-parasocial relationship. To try and actually have it be for furthered connectivity psychologically amongst the users that they engage with, at least, to try and create this method, hopefully to be pushed into some amount of trend. And just the same, that exact attempted beneficial usage has existed in art really since time immemorial. To take whatever new technologies have come out for usage in entertainment, societal entertainment, and use it in more ethically sound ways. One example could be the entire existence of television when it first started. It was created by German engineers closer to the rise of the Nazi regime closer to the Second World War. And within blatant fascist Hitlerian Germany was really the most major usage of television in its prime for mass manipulation. Device that was co-opted, and in terms of corporate design, that's all right. To hyperfixate cognitive attention onto this digital screen. In our early days, I guess we found as very early, the birth of digitalization. Still now, and since its rise in the 1990s, referring to the internet, but early screen usage. But even then, as television became more commercial, artists found ways during various film renaissance movements, mass in terms of the notion of the capitalist American dream through celebridom and entertainment, the rise of Hollywood. Well, artists found ways to use this device, this medium, to actually convey beneficial moral messages and explorations of the human condition. And I say this because I really have, for the last little while, come to the realization that though I believe creative expression is vitally necessary for human beings, even without the infliction of severe trauma, to express unspoken sentiments that we have no ability to fully articulate from our perceptions. In the reality, in regards to how the world has come about with mass atrocities, the mass scarring of our psyches, the reality is, and looking at it as well from an anthropological standpoint, if the world wasn't as fucked up as it has been the last few millenniums, we wouldn't need all this. We wouldn't need all of this art. We wouldn't need all of it. All of the creative pieces that show us how events, certain atrocious events come about, or we wouldn't even need it to show us the beauty, in large amounts, the beautiful essence of what human beings can be. We wouldn't need it. We absolutely wouldn't. And in regards to anthropology, how I know that is because for thousands of years, various different human groups had existed without it. They had collectively existed, endured what trials they did, had what joys they did, without showing it in grand mass to another group on the other side of the planet. Because they had no technological ability to do so, they had no knowledge that that other human group even existed, and thus they had no need to. And they might have even had, they had their own secular, cultural, artistic traditions. Various ones had their own wholly enclosed expressions of their human experience for emotional relief. They did. There's numerous amounts of evidence for that. Because they didn't need to create some grandiose... One, they couldn't, and they didn't need to. They didn't need... They had their art was just for them. Or any other human beings that they came across in... Well, even if at first there was violence or hostile instances that peace was eventually made through afterwards, or if there was just solely peaceful first contact with another population, there would have been a cultural exchange. This exists right up into the modern day. Every single day. All over the world. There wasn't... And for the groups that eventually amalgamated into other demographics, and amounts of their traditions got mingled in and faded away to the tides of history to almost be forgotten. That was that. That was the existence of those peoples. That is now silently left. Or violently left, but I'm speaking in regards to the artistic movements, in how they didn't need to have they didn't need to have their experience shown to the whole world because there wasn't large enough amounts of systematic forces that hindered their experience worldwide. There wasn't any at that point in history. That has sorely changed many centuries down the line, but that is the only reason that we feel compelled to utilize these entertainment formats for our own relief in those ways. Eyes have been twitching a lot recently. My lids. Because I know why. One, really been trying to accustom myself to the sleeping conditions at the shelter. Not used to being in a bed since, well, any really well enough furnished bed. Since maybe around April. And because mentally I'm very conflicted. I've been talking with certain people who, after showing them my diagrams, talking to them about my theories, these people who work within governmental facilities looked over these and were astonished. One of them told me, why are you not a professor? Why are you not in university? Why not as a student? Why are you not teaching in a lecture hall? Why are you not a professor of philosophy or psychology or sociology? Why aren't you? Like, this is not entry level from their own courses that they were required to take. It told me this is in terms of the Canadian post-secondary applicant credits. This isn't even entry-level work in these fields. This isn't entry-level work. This is literally fourth year advanced work. These alone. Fourth year, that's what they told me. This is not something that just any general student taking these courses in post-secondary would do. This is not just general assignment work. This is prof level. The other person told me when I showed them these, Cam, if you hadn't told me your date of birth and explained more about yourself in our sessions so far, what I see this person for, if you hadn't told me any information about yourself, I would have just then shown me these. I would have just assumed, this guy's 30 years old. He's not 20. He's above 30, and he's been to post-secondary, and he's done extracurricular work in regards to, or he's done apprenticeships in clinical observation. I would have assumed that, but I obviously know that isn't the case. You're 20 years old, and you dropped out of high school. That's what both of them said to me. And long story short, both of them really highly encouraged me to go back to post-secondary schooling. To not even the educational system, as I firmly believe that is a corrupt. The world's educational institutions are indoctrination methods of manipulation. I have stated that very clearly. And even if I was to go back, I'd still believe that. As it's true. No doubt in my mind as of right now. I don't know if I want to or not. Okay, I know this. I'm not getting whatever credits. I'm not applying. I'm not going back and applying. I'm not applying to post-secondary. I'm not putting payments into a tuition. Absolutely not. Never. I will not. If I was to go practice at a college or university, I'm either getting a grant, they're giving me a scholarship, or I'm taking an apprenticeship with any teaching professor who is willing to. And that's the only way. I am not applying. Never. Well, why am I contemplating now in the future, not soon, in the future, potentially getting involved with the higher academia? Because the conscious loneliness is getting to me. It's really getting to me. I even knew when I've known for a while that most individuals who can hold up to more stimulating conversation, more in-depth ideas of things, were in the academic circles in some manner of career. Some involvement. I always, for the longest time, have known that. I did not want to contribute to another corrupt system more than I had to. I became a nomad to refuse constantly giving into private property, to refuse payments to major governmental taxations, to refuse that's the only way I can put it, to stop, to refuse aiding horrors, and not waste my life. I was not going to be someone who another fucking person who either has faith in a society that kills them, starting by education, that they need to go to higher amounts of institutional mass manipulative propaganda to contribute to their community, or for people who are pragmatists, who aren't pragmatists, they're idealists, who think it's just for better assurance at a sustainable livelihood when you get out into the real fucking world, which there is no real fucking world. The real fucking world starts when you're born. I was not going to do that and then wake up one day realizing, holy shit, it was all for nothing substantial. Those careers that you think you're going to have, they're not coming to you. Not coming to most of you who get pushed through the system. They're not coming to most of you, especially in the modern day. They're not coming. Not in any form that you're envisioning in a higher corporate demand. They're not. That's why I didn't go. That is distinctly why I dropped out of high school 3 months to graduation in the first place. And for the past 2 years, I loved every minute of that specific decision. Except for one. Well, except for one realization I had, is that I grew comfy, actually, I realized. I grew trauma-bound to seeing the faces of people in my youth every day. Seeing the amount of friends who I had that lasted somewhat through high school. I miss them. Not a day goes by where I don't think of them. There's not a day that goes by that I don't imagine and I pretend. When I have nothing else to do, nothing else that I'm lost in thought about. Where I don't actually silently pretend that I'm still there talking with them. Or creating fictional scenarios in my head where we did, none of these remotely happen, but not even mundane. Just having our own little suburban adventures in the streets of Toronto. I do that. I do that every day. Same goes for my immediate family. I miss them. Beyond belief. Far more than I ever thought I would when I left that city. It was, by any stretch of the imagination, that we rekindled our relationship. I'm thankful for that every day. Not just rekindled, that it actually changed and evolved. And my parents changed. My sibling changed. They're not the same people that they were back then. At least in my eyes. I would not have forgiven them if they were the same people that they were. Fine, am I a bit nostalgic about Toronto? It's geographically itself. Fine, a little. I miss time before when I thought that people believed what I believe. I don't give a shit if it was wrong. I don't give a shit if my interpretations were wrong. I just miss believing that. I miss if where me and the other party misinterpreted each other's wants. I miss that. I miss existing in the points where we could have discussions and then, I guess, forget about them and look past the more amounts of uncomfortability that we might have had with each other and just do something. I miss that. You know why? Because I have no one now. I have no one but my mind. I don't give a shit if I've always only had my mind. Don't you dare come at me with nihilism. I know it. Believe me, I know it. I am a nihilist. Don't even come at me with it. Don't come at me with philosophy and don't come at me with science. I'm not even hearing it unless it's worth discussing. If I read comments that are just well, there's something there's that preceding little factor right there. I'm continuously frustrated with the fact that most people don't even amongst the political sphere, they don't even discuss, they don't conceptualize things, or it seems even similar to what I've done. That's because I am fundamentally, I don't think people, I'm fundamentally trying to rewrite social scientific history. I am fundamentally trying to redo our understanding to human existence in some manner. Or at least I'm trying to make my observations integrated into the defining understandings of research. I'm desperately trying to, in what little ways I can, define history in these fields. And it is exhausting. I've really learned that even the more intuitive individuals amongst the artsy subcultures, those who are more inquisitive to human nature, who are more fascinated by study, lot of it, for the figures who get pushed in their lifetime into circulation of popularity amongst these subgroups, across demographics, who have ideas that I agree with on some level, they only get pushed into some form of mainstream popularity when they here's the formula to be an academic, to be a popular scholar. Say something and promote something that's just radical enough that it's against the conventional, but also condone amounts of the contemporary belief just enough so that the avid observer will agree with you. Be just ordinary enough and just unique enough to seem like a spectacle. Or be just, I guess you would say, just informed enough and just ignorant enough for those who genuinely try to induce more critical analysis, to where private rulers will know that you're safe enough to just circulate in some form. If you're digestible enough. I don't want it. Why I have this dissidence where I'm torn with whether at some point, either when I reach Iqaluit or when I get back to Toronto, of being involved with post-secondary education in some form or not. Because one, I feel like it's a defeat of my morality. I feel like it's a defeat. Because I know how terrible it is. I'm so fucking done with trying to have some level of deep, meaningful conversation with the delusional and the fucking insane of the working class. I'm so tired of it. I can't be near these people. I can't take another fucking needless misinterpretation of what I'm saying by drunken, crack-addicted buffoons. I've tried to talk amongst people in shelters. I haven't spoken to nearly anyone here yet. And this shelter is not like most, but other places. People I've met at clubs, on the streets, at food banks, at community centers, amongst the highly oppressed populaces. And I fucking can't. I can't take another fucking high off their ass, narcissistic, dismissive, or dissociative, or depressive, compulsive idiot that is self-destructive. I can't take another attempt at conversation with people who I know it won't get through to from someone like me, with how I am as a person, for any amount of these individuals to actually go through a process of cognitive reframing. I know that I can't get through to these people, and I just try because I see the mass dishevelment, the pain that they are in, how they are slowly murdering themselves, how they are so lost, so emotionally dysfunctional, pleading silently for help. They are just, their inner child is just screaming, help me, save me. And I want to talk to them, and they understand in literal fragments, but it's not enough. It's not enough. And I can't keep doing it with these people. I won't be a social worker. I see this especially among so many social workers. They're exhausted. I've seen it on the faces of too many social workers who are more compassionate and want to aid.
We have to lock all the doors now. The mall's closed.
Alright.
Okay, except for up by Walmart. Walmart is open, but we got to close all the doors. Okay?
Yeah, a couple of minutes. I can't keep talking, and I've changed my opinion on this. Insane is not an ableist term. No, it isn't. It has not been completely historically used to humanize those with psychiatric disorders. Insane is a term when someone has such moronic thinking that they are a dangerous individual. So I take back whatever I have said that insane is not an acceptable term. Yes, it is. And I'm so tired of talking with people who are insane. And believe me, I have talked with some very much insane individuals. Their sanity is gone. Well, if I can't stand in here, then I'll stand out there. I'm fed up with it. I can't put up with it. So why I'm considering possibly attending higher academia is because I need to find a good amount of a social group that are intellectuals, that can actually fucking hold up, that they can hold up to my level of mentality, and I can hold up to theirs. People who are challenging, that aren't demeaningly challenging. People who have actual provable insights, even with their disorders. Like, I really mean it, that for as much as I do what I do to aid in struggles for promoting the freedom of the working class, freedom of the racially degraded, freedom of the LGBTQ+, to be sexually free, freedom for religious choice, even though it's not truthful, freedom for their choice, and freedom from religious oppression, for the truthfulness of atheism, for art, for all of it, for the list goes on and on and on. I can't actually be amongst those groups of people, wherever in the world it is, who are so abused that they're so normalized to trauma that they can't see the signage right in front of their fucking eyes. I can't. I can't keep being, I go to local, even in supporting local businesses. No, I will continue to support them. That is not stopping. But it's so, when the local businesses create their own subjugation, as they all do, or when the local business itself is not ethical. Like, here's a little news flash for everyone who, for all the subgroups that are convinced of local community aid and economics. Well, here's a sad reality of grassroots methods. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the reality is, in the modern world, I mean this both metaphorically, but you can also take this literally in terms of agricultural production. But take it as a metaphor right now, fine. Locally grown does not inherently mean no pesticides or artificial growth hormones were used in the process. I'm sorry to tell you, no matter what realm of business, locally sourced, that doesn't mean ethically sourced. It really doesn't. It is a shameful fact that when I was in Toronto, the mega corporate branch that I worked for, the mega corporation, the branch owner that I worked for, they as of current are the second best employer I've ever had. Second best. I have had a plethora more jobs with small businesses. Plethora more. That is a sad fact. And all those other, almost every single small business that I have worked for, the owners have been complete. Oh, damn. Alright, for a second I was more... Oh, what are you doing? Oh. Perfect example. The first light amount of snow, finally, in this region. The person driving in the vehicle is coming along here. They made a turn in the parking lot and they skidded a bit. I was thinking, okay, maybe they are reckless, or maybe they pressed a little too hard on the gas, their foot moved wrong, something, and they accidentally or they made a wrong movement with the wheel. Maybe there. Maybe that's what happened. And then, if you heard it rev again, they sped up after that swerve and tried to turn in the parking lot, and they started skidding again. And then they did it again. They were literally trying to accelerate in the parking lot. And then they made a huge swerve trying to go around the opposite end of the mall complex. Fucking dumbass. Almost every single small business owner I've worked for has been a piece of shit. Has been an absolute deplorable human being. They've been falling right wing or moderate right wing, opportunistic, egocentric bastards.
Except for the last company that I worked for. I love them. I love the owners. I hate so much of the staff, as I've said. Oh. People are not prepared for winter in this region this year, it seems. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. I'll address that later. Soon enough. I can't keep doing it. I can keep living as a nomad. As of right now. I can't keep attempting conversations with people who I know will not comprehend it. And I can't find anyone else in a friggin' entire landmass that is infested with morons wherever I go. As we are the smart individuals of the rare few. I really do try in any interaction I have to just bring out some amount of higher intellect in people that I'm talking with. I try, and I hope, I just keep thinking in some regard that they can read the room. It's amazing how oblivious, morally corrupt, psychologically disordered people are. It is phenomenal. You could literally sit there with the literal cartoonish frown on your face. And they just stand there like, oh yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah. I feel ya, I understand what you mean. Or they'll performatively ask, hey, you doing alright? Oh, well I'm sorry to hear about that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear. Well, catch you later. You could literally be It's only when you start collapsing to the ground in tears that they then they just stand there and they're frozen because they don't know how to emote and react. They don't know how to. They just stand there awkwardly when someone is in crisis, actual psychiatric crisis, because they're so vapid that they don't know what to do. It's mind-boggling. Like, most people in the world, they're infantile. They really are infantile. They've reverted back to, no, they haven't even reverted to. It's because they never developed out of. Their cognitive growth was stunted. They never progressed out of this self-centered, provably beneficial trial period of youth. That's not to say, no, moral corruption amongst youth is not mass. But the reality is, children need to experience more. They need to experience something that could be, in essence, morally deplorable from their actions. That is how people learn. And through compassion for their mistakes is how they learn. From other individuals granting compassion. It's not there is no fucking end stage for brain development. There is not. Puberty, it's volatile. But neurogenesis continues throughout your life. It continues. Perception changes. I'm so tired of the notion that you should know this by a certain age. That does not exist. At all. At all. That is not truthful. They should just know it as a human being. Any semblance of sanity. And I've come to another conclusion as well, in regards to, specifically, my values of leftism. In regards to why I even make this, why I even write, why I share my thoughts with the external world, why I live like I live, why I do any of it. I don't merely anymore hold the value of being a leftist for the preservation of humanity. That's in regards to all our selfish wants. That's one reason. Because other human beings deserve to live a fulfilling life. But particularly as well, I've now come to the realization that you should not be a leftist to save humanity. Not at all. In leftist politics, you should not be a progressive to save humankind. You should be a progressive to save yourself. You are a part of humanity. If you believe in the values of liberation, then abide by it to liberate yourself. You can only influence amounts in this world, in any helpful manner. Those who think that extremist causes are what is aiding the liberation of humankind, you're dead wrong. You're inflaming the imprisonment. You're inflaming it. Be a leftist to save yourself. Because right-wing values, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I've always believed this for as long as I've been a leftist. But now I want to say it more clearly. All of rightism, all of centrism, extensively, yes, all the falling columns of the left wing are problematic. I find the far left of reactionary methods to be problematic. Yada yada yada. But let's focus on my main enemy, the right wing. Rightism is the only reason that trauma exists in this world. In mass extent. Mass extent. Oppression, authoritarianism is innately right-wing. That is the principles of right-wing. Whatever the delusional different sectors of the right-wing believe, well, they're psychotic for very provable reasons. Repression is rightism. That is the entire emotional sentiment behind right-wing values. Condoning further right-wing oppression is integral to centrist views. It's integral. The ideal, whatever problematic methods there are and other problematic beliefs there are in different sectors of the left wing, those are not all the same. No matter what, though, the reality is the values behind these actions of the left wing are inherently rooted in attempts at liberty, in liberation. That is innate.
You can go over to the Scotia Bank if you want us to go in porch if you're cold.
Oh, that's okay. Right now, I think I'm fine.
Yeah, because that door stays open if it gets cold. Okay? Because we're not allowed to leave anybody in the mall. That's all.
No,
If you don't want to be mean.
No. I understand.
Okay? But if you get cold, the Scotia Bank door is one side is always open. You get into the interact, right? Yeah.
Thank you very much. There you go. That's another thing too. Most people, no matter how psychologically damaged they are, no matter the conformity to problematic systems there are, without much analysis, most people of the world are left-leaning. Most. For empathy. Most people are. That's a prime example right there. I'm glad I caught that on camera. Most individuals are not these. For as much as I am infuriated with people, I know most people, they don't subconsciously, they don't intend they don't intend to terrible people do not view themselves as terrible people. They don't. Or even if they do, like I said in the videos prior, in relation to identity, they've just succumbed to this idea that they are a terrible person, and just they've associated it now to their personality. But most people don't want to be terrible people. They don't want to be, and they don't think that, they're not consciously aware of their actions, that this is deplorable. They don't want to be horrific human beings. So why am I a leftist individual? Because I want to save myself. And I want to educate any children out there who are going to be mentally murdered by the deplorable global society, who are going to endure strife, but those who remain strong, who know that there is love in people, that people are empathic innately. I make everything that I make, and I do everything that I do, so that hopefully they'll find what I've done. They'll see me and them in representation, that I'm another form of them. People like them. And so that they can use what I've done, what I've learned, they can assess it for themselves, they can draw their own conclusions, and it can help them wade their way through the garbage that is this putrid modern life, so that they can survive, so that they, like all other great artists, philosophers, psychologists, like all other great individuals, so that they can show people like them that not just this vague "you're not alone," that you are right, and that you too can be as free as you possibly can be, even within a metaphysical cage. one thing that any budding intellectuals, anyone who wants to be a learner in life, there's a hard truth that we have to swallow. This is another way that I tolerate so much cruelty projected towards me unfairly. This is another, it's something that I've really come to just accept. On some level, anyone who wants to try something different, in whatever their social settings are, who wants to go against the grain, because you know that the grain is shredding you to pieces, you're gonna have to accept an amount of abuse coming your way. Anyone who wants to be away from a herd mentality has to accept that on some level the herd will want you dead, will not want you to exist, that the herd will disregard your being, that cowards will disregard your greatness. Cowardly people who are the scum of the human race, they will either physically or emotionally, they will beat you. More often it is metaphysically. They will not lay a hand on you, but they will wreak havoc on your mind. They will shock your peripheral nervous system. To oblivion. People stop seeing babies' faces in adolescence. The second they turn 12 or 16 or even if a culture doesn't use a numbering system for their ages, which there are cultures that exist as such and have existed as such beneficially for so long. Particularly in terms of national groups, Beninese and Yemanis, they don't use number schemes for age, as well as certain indigenous groups, Nigerian indigenous groups, that don't use numbers for age either. But they still know at what stage of a person's development they're at physically. Oh, sorry. Not Beninese. Didn't mean to say Beninese. I don't know what. No, in Benin. Yeah, they're. It's common to use. Well, at the very least, after colonialism, number schemes. Sorry, not Beninese. Bhutanese. Bhutan. In Asia, Bhutan. That's common. People just forget. They really do think that knowledge and durability has just made its way into your physiology overnight the second that you age up. The second that you, in the westernized sense, the second you turn 18, the second you turn 21, the second you turn 15, they stop, they don't know how human biology works. They don't know. They stop seeing adolescence in you. They stopped seeing it. They never saw it, for one. They just infantilize the infants. See them as these fucking play toys. I mean it. I swear, I hate it when I so hate it whenever I hear parental figures and all their chummy little friends speaking in that stupid fucking cutesy voice to toddlers. As if they can't understand what you're saying in your regular speech patterns. Give the children a break. Fuck. I hate it. So mean. It's mean and cruel because the second that you familiarize that to the child and the second that you turn that little false persona off, once they're 12 years old, they're gonna be stunned, horrified. Where did the love go? Why do I need to get a job now? Why do you never talk to me in any sort of sweet voice? Why have you stopped that? Why did you stop that? Why? What did I do? What, I just slept one night and all of a sudden, because my facial features and body is more defined, well, now apparently I recognize different commands via different vocal tone. Now apparently I only am able to receive compassion through self-determination. I'm only able to... I should be proving admiration. I'm no longer just worthy of having compassion put my way. That's not a personal projection alone. That's the experience of every single human being on this planet, nearly. simplified terms, you want to be a good person, you're going to have to take the long haul. You want to be someone kind, you want to be someone intelligent, you're going to have to suffer. Needlessly suffer. I don't mean that in a harsh way, but that's the actual truth of it. You will be the only way you actually become a true revolutionary is when you're burnt through the fire. The metaphorical fire. Figurative flames. I could have, if I was a mass attention-seeking manipulator, I could have easily, if I wanted praise, social status, I could have easily gone into post-secondary. I could have easily, by now, I could be, this is a part of my shadow showing, of what I know of myself. I could have been a sociopathic, narcissistic, corporate executive, probably even by this point in my life, if I went down the route I did, and then if I wanted grandeur, I could have been a cutthroat CEO. I could have been some online guru by this point. I could have been a malpracticing doctor. I could have been some postmodernist, sham, performative leftist school teacher. The definition of a brocialist from male presentation. I could have been all of that if I wanted to by this point. I could have done that, or only a few years later from now, if I had gone the route to those, to deceptively coerce my way to some hedonistic, objectivist philosophy. I could have if I wanted to. I could also just as well, I could form a militia group if I wanted to. I absolutely have the capability of doing that. I could have formed a political militia group by this point for the far left wing. Even for the far right wing, I could have formed that by this point. I could have formed a terrorist organization if I wanted to. I very clearly, and it's a disturbing thing that I realize about myself, I could have the manipulation ability to do that. I could, if I was given the chance and if I was given ample room to vigorously speak at rant as I do here in more intensive environments, easily could have. I could have easily presented half-truths, and this is how extremely manipulative people work, especially in the modern day. You present half-truths, one singular element that a lot of people have been put through in terms of trauma. You only hone in and focus on that. You present this one solution that even that has slight there's underlying truthfulness to methods of it, but you present these pseudo-truths to a destroyed people group. You present it and you rally support for your deplorable you rally support for your left-wing, ineffective, destructive, and right-wing, horribly dehumanizing. You rally support for it through this pandering to a group, and that's all it takes to create gunfire. That's all it takes. What time is it? Okay. Alright. So the point with the 3 videos there are here, the point I'm making is take a risk on being authentic. No matter your flaws, past actions, who you show it. Stop hiding. I have so much more to talk about. I have so much more I want to talk about that I can never address in even these hour-long videos. And I'm never afforded the space to. Even with the lifestyle lead, look at where I'm standing. Look at where I filmed the first half of this video. I'm not afforded places to really get into my most analytical mindset. I'm never afforded it. But I will talk about it still. So now for some announcements. Specifically in regards to YouTube here. The last few months, I've thought things over, and I've thought about where this channel is actually going. If you've been following me for a while, you know this channel it's turned into something else than what it was when it began, in some form. Something much better, as far as I am concerned. The next video is actually going to address my old content. But I know, and I'm not going in depth about it here, but I know that this channel, A Damn Slice of Cake, on YouTube here, from where I've wanted to take it, what I've done with it, everything I've done in the last 2 years, it has an expiration date. Yes, at some point in the future, not the near future, no, most likely, not the near future, don't worry about it at this moment, but in the future, the foreseeable future, in some manner, I will retire this channel. I've never monetized my content. Never. Not just YouTube, my pornographic content. I still don't. Even when I tried to for a bit, because I thought I might have to for some amount of income, and I did not want to. I didn't end up going through with it. My content on makelovenotporn.com, yeah, I'm not actually getting bit. I'm getting pay rollouts from the actual site itself, because that's required for their policies. But I don't deposit it. I tried the system that what it was requiring. It got convoluted, complicated, and I said, fuck it. No, screw it. I'm not doing this. I'm not even making profit off of that. Enough. I didn't even cancel it. Like, I was going through the process of efficientizing all the confirmation for pay rollouts, and I just said, no, screw it. Found employment finally for that time being. I said, screw it. It's too much of a hassle even. And like, I can see how much I am making from my content on makelovenotporn.com. I have not touched a single amount of that. Total, I think I've made near might now be near $70 or $80. I haven't touched it. Not a single amount of it. I made nothing. I made absolutely nothing from Pornhub. Absolutely nothing. If they were depositing it for when I did reach per 1,000 views, 69 cents. Oh, by the way, real clever Pornhub. I figured that out a while ago. 69 cents for each 100 views. Ha 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 ha. Real clever, mind geek. Yeah, whatever they were, wherever they were transferring that money, I have no clue. No clue. No clue. Couldn't even find where it was displayed how much I was actually, in terms of finance, generating from my video content on Pornhub. No clue. It's in cyberspace somewhere. And as, well, a certain amount of you know, well, the Pornhub channel is retired anyway now. Not as intended, but, well, that is unfortunately how it ended. All the content is still up on there. I will not remove it. I don't even have access to, especially after, I don't even have access to it anymore. Especially after my old phone broke. Wasn't able to regain it as of yet. Not particularly trying. Before, I could no longer upload to it, but I still had access. Well, now I don't. The same will happen at some point in the future to the YouTube channel here. This main channel. I have no other channels existing right now. But at some point, a damn slice of cake is going to come to an end. I will not delete anything. I will keep it up for anyone to view. To all extent. But I will retire and I don't mean like I'm gonna come back to this channel. I mean like I am retiring it. So many YouTubers say that they're retired, especially major YouTubers. They're retired and then they upload here and there and they really miss the drive of it. What amounts of gratification for the satisfaction of uploading and coming back with admiration by fans that they've returned, so they reignite the channel. Or some are loosely retired. But no, I mean it. If I decide to, well, on that, I'm not just going to retire the channel at some point. I've also decided that at some point, hopefully soon, this one, soon enough, I am going to make a second channel. For now. Specifically oriented entirely around my theoretical work. Around my scientific proposals. Specifically. I don't know what it's going to be called. I don't know. Well, I have an idea of what the first bit of content will be. It'll be similar in some regards to here. But I am actually going to make an entire channel dedicated to my work, my research work, my diagrams. I am making an entire channel dedicated to that. Because clearly on here, just on Damn Slice of Cake, it's, well, it most likely in many aspects won't get much traction if I was to make one entirely oriented around it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it hasn't so far on here. So, for further circulation of it in the online sphere, I am making a separate channel at some point for my theoretics, entirely dedicated to focusing on that. And I'm not making any I have no clue when that'll be finished, that one. Maybe that one will surpass the lifetime of a damn slice of cake. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a third channel where I do somewhat similar content to what was here on A Damn Slice of Cake, but in lesser amounts after I've retired this channel. It's just a place where I throw specific creative endeavors that I choose. I don't know. But so yeah, at some point I'll be making a second channel relating to my research only. As for this whole dilemma I'm facing in regards to post-secondary involvement, I don't want to say attendance, because I will not be a student. I'm firm on that. If I have to walk up to the deanship of whatever university or college, wherever it is, if I have to walk up to them and say, here is my work, this is what I'm using for, humbly asking for a research grant or just a partnership with one of your teachers. That's that. I'm not going in any other way, and I'm not paying a tuition. I'm not being severely indebted to a already corrupt. I'm not paying thousands of dollars to to institutions that are shameful excuses of that have no right to even be called educational. They have no right to be. If with that, I'm not doing any of that until I get to Iqaluit, Nunavut, Canada. I am not doing that until I complete that mission. I'm in freaking Labrador City. Fallon, Labrador. I remember the exact time period, the exact few days when I decided that I was going to the city of Iqaluit. I remember that exactly. And the first time I said it on here, I remember this distinctly. 2 years ago, when I was at my extended relative's cottage in the village of Crow's Landing, Ontario, sat on the floor, about to do, titled the video aptly such, the dumbest thing that I've ever done in my, quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. where I was about to try and swim across the lake. I was about to try and swim across the lake. I got in the water and attempted to I didn't even make it out of the cove. I sat on the couch before recording that. I lied on the couch. I was eating breakfast, or lying in bed, alone, just in that little wooden house on the rocky platforms in the middle of the woods, on a little enclave. Just the sounds of the forest. I thought, where am I going? Where am I going to attempt to get on this journey? What direction am I headed in? Like, what am I going to pick as just an end goal for now? I even said this isn't like I'll stop there and then spend my life there or go back to Toronto. Well, this was before I made further decisions. But I said this is just my destination goal for now. I get there and then decide what else to do, what to do now. And I said, far north of Canada. You've always wanted to go. You've always wanted to see specifically the territory of Nunavut. You always wanted to. You're getting to Baffin's Island. You're going to Nunavut. You're not going you're not getting on a plane from Ottawa and flying to Iqaluit over the Hudson's Bay. You're not just taking that easy route. You even have the financial ability. Well, actually, no, I'm at that point, yeah, I could have. For a very cheap, smaller passenger airline, or, well, yeah, cheap. It would have been probably more expensive for a smaller passenger airline. But I said, you're going there. And you're making it after Ottawa. Well, I was planning on taking Carlene, my faithful side-by-side, before giving her away. Oh, I wish that Timmy, my intersex motorized bicycle, Trudy, my very slow but very faithful, in very much surpassing her limits of what she was capable of, electric golf cart, and Carlene, my incredible, well enough powered and functioning UTV. Oh, if they could see me now where I am. And Camden too. Camden, my faithful pedal bike, who was with me for a good chunk of my stay in Montreal, Quebec, before, out of my own stupidity, leaving him unattended outside one of the only porno theaters still existing in North America, officially, as a designated business, where he was stolen, never to be seen again. Only they could see me now. And it brought Camden's bike seat all the way to Quebec City. away before having to abandon the rest of those materials that I had to leave behind. And Cardi B, the most incredible of them all, of all my mobile, inanimate objects. They have been the greatest adventurer that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, being alongside. Cardi B, my metal utility wagon. They have stood by me through thick and thin, through every possible weather condition. I assembled them in Crow's Landing the day before I left for Ottawa. The day before, I spent the whole day doing so, assembling them. Then I was able to transport them to the city of Ottawa, store them for the time that I was there, reassemble them, pack them, and thus we got on our way. And finally, name them Cardi, once getting into the city of Gatineau. I love that wagon. I love that fucking wagon. Oh, and I would, unless they suffer fatal injuries, or injuries that I can't repair, I will not give them away. I will not part with them unless I have to. And I mean unless I have to. They have been my literal life force. My literal life force. All of my life-saving gear. My sleeping gear. My clothing. My repair, my reparation tools, all of it, they have carried it, and I would have had no way to take any of the amount of stuff that I have had if it wasn't for them. And I even said, somewhere throughout my Before Leaving the Cottage video series, I had picked Lab City, right where I'm standing now, as my initial end destination for the mainland of Canada. Now, obviously, here's a correction. I had, throughout my journey, I had thought from information I had researched online that the regional airport actually has charter flights to Iqaluit, or at the very least even Kitchewack in northern Quebec. Kitchewack maybe, but not directly to Iqaluit. There aren't any, so I was incorrect about that. So the only way that I'm getting to Iqaluit from Labrador at some point, if I stay in Labrador for it, is to go to the air base in Happy Valley Goose Bay, where they do have certain amounts of cargo and I believe passenger flights that go to Baffin's Island. Or potentially having to go to St. John's, Newfoundland, for just a designated passenger flight going up to Iqaluit. We'll see. I don't know. That all remains to reveal itself. But I got here. No matter what, I got here. And that alone proves my capabilities. That alone is what reminds me that I am a fantastic, strong-willed individual. You have to be intelligent to survive what I've survived. You could not have done what I have done the way that I did it if you were not intelligent. You could not. If you were not observant, if you were not quick to assess in specific scenarios, if you did not have a rough outline plan of your route, if you weren't a creative thinker, you could not have gotten here the way that I got here. This channel is evidence enough for whatever future internet historians maybe discover, well, what I've shared of my ventures, if the content is still here. So, now, to end the video, what are we at? Good. I will correct certain amounts of information that I was wrong about, specifically in regards to the Exploring Labrador City series, and also address specific individuals. Not long, because I've said my part. I will correct information of mine that they had displayed that I was incorrect about. Other amounts of it, however, they were monumentously ignorant on. So for my part, in regards to the Scandinavian heritage here in the region, which absolutely there is, I was incorrect in the fact in the first part, and I'll state this again in the next part of Exploring Lap City, briefly. I was incorrect in my assessment of the fact that most of the white population here is of direct Scandinavian descent. I was incorrect on that, as further looking into the history of Newfoundland and Labrador through non-major regulated online sources, as I try not to look through, because they are not reliable, there is a plethora amount of those of Scottish descent in the region, as well as amounts of Irish, and as well as, obviously, in the mix of it, Anglo-Saxon. So there are those who have more of a mix between that amount of British and Northern European descent. That is very clear, though. And also, I was incorrect on something of a comment that I left in addressing one of these individuals that I'm going to talk about the history of the area. When I had further looked up about the region in regards to the Nordic Vikings' original colonialization of portions of the region in regards to the former corridor in the east that was known as Markland, I was wrong and had been misled from what I had looked up, that they had actually been able to push their way further into the region, that they had actually initially had mass amounts of control and trade routes through the Labrador Territory and Newfoundland. That was incorrect, as they were only on really the eastern coast. So I was incorrect in that regard, as I had thought from that amount. And then later on, they had abandoned lots of their settlements here in terms of trade routes. However, what many people don't know is that there is absolute evidence that they had lasted in the area of trade routes along the coast for a near 300 years after their initial landing of Leif Erikson's, his shipping units. So I was incorrect on that part. What I was not incorrect on, absolutely, LVW, whatever amount of numbers you have, in regards to this area, is the absolute influence, very clear influence, of Scandinavian architecture in the designs of the housing units, of the building units, and in regards to the Scandinavian descent that is within the area, that has clearly been eroded in terms of educational influence to ethnicities of the region. That culture has very clearly been eroded for a more Anglo-centric viewpoint and Scottish-centric viewpoint. Well, even less of... Well, it's all been Anglified extensively. In regards to Anglo-Saxonism, you fucking idiot who has the gall to actually defend the mining corporations, the fucking putrid the horror show that is Iron Ore Corporation and Rio Tinto and Takora. Wait, you first commented on the Exploring Wabush video, asking about the horrors, what could have possibly been the horrors that those two corporations have committed. I gave you the answer to that, so I'm not even going to go over it here. But in regards to just pollution alone, you must not have watched the full video. Did you not see the urine-colored stain on the sky? Shot from right up on this hill here, looming over the mountain range above Takora's mining facility. Oh, I'm sorry, not a refinery. My mistake. The smog in the sky alone. Nightmare. To answer your question about doing my research properly by supposedly going to the tourist center, or if I confused the Cultural Arts Center with the Tourist Center, no, I did not. You asked why no video? Because the day I went to try and actually film inside it, it was closed. Why didn't I go back? Because I've been caught up with a whole bunch of other shit. That's why no video. Oh, and also, I don't do my research involving that, or that organization, or the municipality. You know why? Because they inherently portray iron ore in a positive narrative. It is the whole drive to get tourism influxed to this region, because that fucking atrocity is the only reason that this hick city even exists. This, what was originally the town settlement, this place should have never been founded. So many of you don't actually ask whether your settlement should have been founded in the first place. Lab City should never have been created. Wabush should have never been created. Toronto should never have been created. Ottawa should never have been created. Laval, Montreal, Longueuil, Côte Saint-Luc, Lévis, Quebec City, Saint Paul de Montmagny, Saint Philemon, Tedouasek, Baia-Comeau, Baia-Saint Paul, Beaupré, Saint Anne de Beaupré, Crow's Landing, McCracken's Landing, Norwood, Whitchurch, Stouffville, whatever, should have never been created in the fucking first place. You cannot, none of this can exist. You cannot be for any of this existing and be convinced that colonialism has been resolved. The very fact that any of this stands in the form that it does is neocolonialism. You can't, there is no way to relinquish past genocide, as this country has committed mass genocide, cultural genocide, not even just cultural, physical massacres, has created physical massacres in the residential school system and before, and still does, through police brutality. You can't say, yeah, it was terrible, and then continue to promote this. You're arguing two different values. The mass iron production is so unsustainable, so completely ravaging to the sedimentary foundations of this entire land, to the fucking unnecessary amount of harsh metals produced through it. Oh, and my mistake as well for confusing the ore that was in the train cars in exploring Wabush for coal. Another bit of showing how you're a narcissist. You can't tell from a distance the difference. At least someone who's not completely trained in observing it. Oh, no, but you only think that because your entire family line has been employed by mining communities. That's the only reason that you can suppose, or you have this perception that you are an expert on telling the distinction between the ores. Mass stupidity. Oh, so now in regards to the clear Scandinavian influence of the area. It is further clear that there is evidence, or I'd actually been able to research, that even after the initial Norse landing here and then exiting, further smaller amounts of Scandinavians did actually come over during the time of the English colonialism. small amounts. There are documented accounts of this, not just of these. Well, history is erased from so many different communities. There are these incredibly rare, or supposedly, there are these rare histories of various different groups traveling through larger historical narratives that nobody talks about. Especially even in regards to, say, in relation to Nordic heritage, there was Nordic colonialization early on in the 1600s, even in the United States. New Sweden, in modern-day Delaware and New Jersey, the American states of Delaware and New Jersey, which consisted of Swedes, Danes, and even amounts of Dutch immigrants. And according to history, or in relation to what I could find of that, it didn't end in mass brutal colonialization with the indigenous groups there compared to the New England English and French and Spanish conquest of the modern day United States. Their history still lingers in that area. And even after, in regards to the late 1800s, the 1890s too, going into the early 20th century, there was a mass influx of Scandinavians coming into Canada, particularly in regards to Western Ontario, into the prairie provinces, into the plains region of the country, and East Canada. There are amounts coming in for high employment, and particularly in regards to the plains provinces, because of demand for immigration from those of the Nordic countries for farming labor. Even New Brunswick, the province of New Brunswick, early on had actually tried to integrate amounts of Scandinavian immigrants coming in for agricultural work. It failed. They didn't get a high amount of those actually coming in for labor, but they even tried in Nova Scotia, in New Brunswick. And it is so clear their influence on the corporate design of the northern regions of Canada, particularly here in Iqaluit, Nunavut, all throughout Nunavut, and even in Yukon. Not so much really in Yellowknife and Northwest Territories from what I can see on maps. The colorations of various buildings around here, various just design of the actual structures themselves is distinctive. It's literally, look up even so much as the suburbs of Stockholm, or Gothenburg, Sweden, or Oslo, Norway, or Bergen, Norway. Even the suburbs of Copenhagen, Denmark, are more similar in architectural design to Labrador City than any amount of what this person claimed to be, that the region architecturally is influenced by the New French, by Franco-European designs in Quebec, in the older areas of Quebec. Not even fucking close. This area looks absolutely nothing like the older, more preserved regions of rural Quebec, or of whatever amount of the original preservation remains from the old town areas of the major cityscapes, particularly in Old Town Quebec City, or even Old Town Montreal. Well, okay, Old Town Montreal. That's the 1950s and the 1940s at most for preservation, at most. Even in Old Town Quebec, as I discussed while there, much of it has been re-renovated. It is not the. It has been remade, replicated. It is not the original, complete, original structures. It's redesigns. And I cross-check that by looking at maps, by actually looking at the regions themselves. And I found as well, in regards to this as well, most northern communities of the world and closer to the Arctic Circle, the colder climates, have a similar exterior design in regards to materials used, particularly metal structuring. That is a very common, in terms of larger building units, you can see it on the mall here. I'm not sure in terms of the Arco technology in terms of the development in relation to why it's necessary completely in where harsher metals are used for this specific design, but it's very common in various northern communities across the world, all throughout Scandinavia, all throughout Upper Russia, in Siberia, all throughout Alaska in the United States, all throughout northern Canada. This exterior metal design, but in that in relation to the Nordic influence, very clear in paint coloration alone, and also, again, more, in terms of housing, more elongated rectangular designs, even amounts in the southwest end here of the, what would it be called? Not a rhombus, it's just the cut and flattened designs. It has no Scottish influence whatsoever. Nowhere around here has Scottish architectural influence at all. At all. Neither does St. John's. It looks distinctive compared to other northern communities that aren't of Scandinavian descent. Scandinavian influence, as I said, in relation to clear, when immigrants had come over, the integration into higher corporate facilities in construction especially. I don't doubt that they were enlisted for helping to develop the northern communities of Canada. No, it makes sense. Because as well, cross-checking it, like I said, Yellowknife alone, the suburbs of Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, doesn't look distinctly similar to here, alone in coloration or even in housing design. Again, all of it has been corporatized, Canadianized in the development world of the modern day, all across the country. Homes look relatively the same in larger municipalities, because of any demolishments that went on and newer constructions that were for redoing and re-urbanizing the areas. But even Alaska, the American state of Alaska, in the suburbs of Anchorage, in Fairbanks, in Juneau, in Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, the northernmost settlement, northernmost city in all of the United States. Even their housing structural designs are not similar to here, not similar to Iqaluit, not similar to Yukon. It is very distinctive of other designs that are used in northern development, not like the very clear Norse influence that is here in structure. Even as well as Siberia, you look at Magadan, Russia. You look at Pevek, the town of Pevek in very far north Siberia. You look at the city of Murmansk, Russia. Murmansk does not look anything remotely like Scandinavia, even though, well, technically the oblast of Murmansk, a portion of it is in Scandinavia on the continent. It doesn't look anything remotely like the rest of Northern Europe in that portion. in terms of design of the actual colorations of paint, of the structure of the facilities. The only thing that is similar in amounts, even Murmansk actually, it is not as much compared to other portions of northern Russia, is the metal exteriors. Because that's clearly vital in what materials are used in more modern day for developing northern building structures in the colder climates. And St. John's looks absolutely nothing like any amount of British influenced architecture. The colorations on the homes alone, which were apparently they redid paint jobs for housing settlements in the city after the 1950s. Not certain forums were saying that it was to revitalize the city. No, it wasn't. There were other things that I found saying that most of the coloration was done so that ships in the ports could actually see through thick fog in, say, a foggy night, that they wouldn't actually come crashing closer to the coastline. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it's in relation still to Scandinavian influence, because all of that can be found in mass amounts in the suburbs of Norway, in Sweden, even in Denmark, and especially the entire design of Newfoundland in regards to housing structures. The colorations of those as well in St. John's. The clear influence of Norse corporatized architecture. You literally just have to as well look as comparing St. John's, Newfoundland to any settlement in Greenland. All of Greenlandic architectural design is directly influenced from Scandinavian white supremacist colonialism, from the Danish. It is descended directly. The Norse wreaked havoc on the Inuit populace of Greenland. And if you take a photo of New Greenland, or Itukatormiut, or Kortuk in the south, or Sismiut, any city in Greenland, and you put it next to a photo of St. John's, Canada, Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland, because there's two St. John's in Canada, one in Newfoundland, the provincial capital of Newfoundland, and one in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia. You take a photo, put them side by side, you would think you were in the same country. The entirety of the cityscapes of Greenland and St. John's, Newfoundland, already got all of Newfoundland. It looks identical. It is identical. Clear erosion of culture, of the influence that those who have immigrated here had, which is not surprising, as Anglo-Saxon white dominance has eroded multitude of various backgrounds. They eroded the Irish. There are Irish who do not actually believe in the modern day in the Western world or even across Europe that they're Irish, that have moved abroad, that don't from the descent sorry, not moved abroad, forced abroad, the enslavement of the Irish peoples, bringing them over into the initial colonies across the seas. And the modern children of those descendants, well, they don't even know that they have Irish blood. They literally just believe that they're Anglo-Saxon. Never taught about it, never learned about any amount the educational systems of the West of England. Don't even a modern day, I guarantee you, modern day, from what I know of the modern Irish educational system in Northern Ireland, there's not a huge focus on it. Of course there's not. There are people who don't even know that they are of white individuals who don't know that they are of Irish descent because of that erasure. There is far higher prevalence of Scottish and Irish descent in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, in eastern New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island than compared to Newfoundland and Labrador, clearly, in terms of just direct lineage. The accent alone from here, the vernacular of Labrador, is distinctly different than that of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I actually bothered to look up and hear the accent fully. And I know the influence of Scandinavian descent on the vernacular here alone because even where I lived in the United States when I was younger, in the Midwest, there is a mass amount of Scandinavian heritage there that has also been eroded. But the vernacular, especially in regards to the American state of Minnesota, later come to find out in later years, is almost it's almost exactly the same in distinction as here in Labrador. The white populace here, in terms of the vernacular that they speak, is almost in many regards identical to white Minnesotan American vernacular. Many regards. So there's that address, and I'm not speaking about it again. I am correcting that, but here's another thing of how I do my research. I do not rely on, as I said, areas that promote their own land in this positive narrative completely. I don't rely on mega corporate news outlets alone, and I try to actually find smaller, if I can, more local web forums, rooting through various lesser seen, smaller web outlets, various ones. None specifically, because guess what? You can't find any truthfully correct or well-rounded information on front page Google. You can't. I don't trust The Guardian. I don't trust Global News. I don't trust CTV. I don't trust TVA. I don't trust Toronto Star. It is mass corporate manipulation. Indoctrination of the population further to the mass media. And I'll also address this other individual whose name is Gaspasqueak, I believe. From the last time I saw it, looked at your comments. You are a sociopathic coward. If you're even, by the way, if you comment, if I see that you comment after the last time we had any interaction from the video nearly 4 months ago, if I see you comment on this video, I will know for a fact that you've just been stalking my channel in order to see if I mention you again, to where I actually discuss you. Yeah, well, I'm not discussing you in a right-wing oriented video oriented around the far right wing. Not because it would be unintellectual of me, but because I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my time. The amount of points made by this individual, it was in the comments of my first two pseudo-intellectualism of the far left wing. It is ludicrous. You're not a pseudo-intellectual, you're just an idiot. You're not even close to you're not the one who decides whether you're leftist. I'm sorry. Anyone who actually makes critical assessment, well, I'm sorry to tell you, from my perspective, from people who study political science, the reality is we determine where you very clearly fall. And I very much regard you from everything you've displayed as a right-winger. You absolutely are. Oh, let me address the idiocy in regards to you won't have any context to this unless you go read the comments there of those videos. This person claims that it was stupid of me to claim that it was morally deplorable if you did have the ability to donate to what I was going to have put out as a fundraiser for my travels on GoFundMe, which is done by that went nowhere, and I have no access to that now, so that don't even bother with that. That it was morally deplorable. They tried so desperately to defend this argument, and also specific attempts at pathetic comedy that they were making in terms of humor, to try and create some more prestigious outlook to the very short thing they had said when I bounced back at them. They actually went as far as to say, all right, send me I have only $200 in my bank account. Send me money. I'll be waiting. And then literally about, I think maybe 30 minutes later, they type back, yes, we're all a little morally deplorable. Wow. Do I even need to point out the idiocy here? How the fuck was I supposed to send you money? I actually told you to send me your bank information, but you didn't. I would have been more than willing to actually oblige, but you didn't. If I had the financial ability to, I was more than willing to send you an amount of finance. But you didn't. You know why? Because you clearly typed that to just pin me in a corner. You did it to portray yourself as some... Yeah, you did it to portray yourself as this sarcastic smartass is all I'm going to say, as some highly astute individual able to assess the supposed pseudo-intellectualism of my own arguments by saying this and then bouncing back with the, again, sarcastic comment that I didn't send you anything because you didn't give me your fucking banking information. What, did you want me to teleport it magically into your bank account with the flick of my... what? The flick of my gynosexual fingers? My mystical gyno powers. I can, with the power of femininity, I can just beam it into your bank account. I told you to send it to me, but of course you're a coward and you didn't. I told you to stop hiding behind your computer screen, making these desperate attempts at defense to your nonsense. And then you claim that my work is charlatan, and that if you want, you could send me, or that if I want, you could send me some actual qualified research papers. Well, where are they, huh? I was more than willing to have you send them. I told you my phone number. For any of you out there who want to actually debate me or have this squabble with me, this is not just to this user or the other one who recently attacked me. My fucking phone number and my email address are right in my channel description. They're right there. Stop hiding behind your screens and actually speak to me if you're not a coward. Yeah, this shows me you're cowardly. I give my literal contact information right there because you want to actually portray yourself as this. You want to portray yourself as the higher person, as the bigger person to the online world through the comments. As if you've made this, as I said, astute, well-rounded argument that you have successfully debunked and defamed this supposed lunatic on the internet who doesn't know what they're talking about. You want to portray it as that, and you're too cowardly to actually get on the phone with me. You're too cowardly to send me an email, to exchange a conversation that way. You have not sent me those research papers, Gaspasqueak. It's been 4 months. You want to do it? Go ahead. But you're a coward, so obviously not. But go right ahead if you want to prove me wrong. Because you still haven't done it. You just said that to flatter your own ego. You just said that to boost up your narcissism. You puke your bigoted vomit, your troglodyte mush into the comments section here. And just leave it at that. I only engage when I actually feel that there might be, if there's like that, an attack, where I will actually state something valid that I didn't address in the video, or like I'm doing right here. Other than that, I'm not going to engage with these people in my comments. I'm not turning comments off, absolutely not. I, no matter what, will keep the ability for you to actually freely express yourself, no matter what you say in my comments. I actively make it a habit to, when YouTube, in terms of the editing options, when you're uploading the video, to have it where it's automatically set to basic comment moderations. I purposely put it on none. No comment moderations. Leave it open. Open to all. Anyone can spew their nonsense in my comments. Anyone can actually have an intelligent debate in my comments. Go for it. I will not hold anyone accountable. I will not delete comments. I will do nothing. But I do not need to actually engage further than proving one solitary point. Oh, and in terms of people who are in a region that I'm in, clearly, the message goes the same. If you're where I'm at, and you know that I'm uploading, if you know me in the community, recognize my face, stop hiding behind your fucking screen and actually speak to me in person. In the area. You can stop me as I'm walking on the street. Right as I'm making a vlog, or just out and about. I will not fight you. I will not engage in any sort of physical harm, but I will berate you verbally if we actually get into it with this. I will present my points. I will actually try to have some amount of a civil discussion with even the most pathetic of individuals. But stop hiding behind your damn screens. You think I'm a moron and you live in Labrador West? Fucking find me. I broadcast where I am. You want to share your opinion? Go right ahead. I am right out here. Do it publicly. We're out in public. There is no such thing as the concept of privacy, and I'm innately against it. I'm innately against... This is another video I gotta make. I'm innately against the ideal of confidentiality, as it has underlying abusive functions to it, and it also does not exist. It does not exist in any actual form. There's no such thing as privacy. That concept does not exist. Never has. Even before the mass further overproduction of invasive surveillance technologies. Even before that. Oh, by the way, bit of further proof of the atrocities of IOC and T and RT. It is October 26th of 2024. This is the first major snowfall of the entire year that is stay more permanent snow. There's now about like a centimeter, 2 centimeters of snow covering the ground, and it's continuous snowfall. This is the first all year, closer towards the end of the year. October 26th, in Lab West region of Labrador Territory, in the pre-Arctic. This is the first major snowfall that is lasting. I know from my research of the community, from what I have talked to people about, gotten my sources from local individuals, that this year is the record, the literal record, for the longest it has gone without snow. Towards the colder season. Years past, they would have had snow most often by mid to late August. There would be a foot of snow, at least. It's taken till October 26th for this. For any of this. For... Get this off. For that. For all that. For this. It is taken till late October for any substantial snowfall to actually occur in what would have in prior years naturally been the weather conditions of this region. Who do you think is to blame for that? You people wonder why it's getting warmer in naturally colder climates. You wonder, Lab West, why your fucking lakes are drying up. Well, look no further than the complex that's right on the edge of your municipality. Look no further. You people wonder and complain why. You wonder why animal species are disappearing from the region. I mean it. October 26th. And this is the first of any major amounts of what seems to be lasting snow. Maybe it won't even last. Maybe this will all be melted come 2 days from now. Closer to Halloween. Who knows? Maybe. Maybe it'll... Literally, so much as 2 days ago, it felt like 14 degrees Celsius during the day. In late October. In Labrador, Canada. You know exactly who is to blame. You know exactly what is to blame. And that's where I'll conclude this video. There's much more I want to say, but I'm taking that slow. Because it never comes out how I envision it to be. So, anyone out there, try attempting to die being who you are. And all your flaws and all your glory. Good evening.